Everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're tuning in, you're probably the kind of person who really loves to learn efficiently, grasp big concepts quickly, and actually apply them to your life. And today? Well, today we have a really clear and honestly kind of audacious goal for us. We are going to fundamentally shift exactly how you think about wealth. We're going to take a really brilliant piece of financial writing and break it down into a highly structured journey. So get ready, because this is absolutely going to change your perspective on every single dollar you earn.
But first, let's ask a question that might seem a little, odd right out of the gate. Do people really need to be convinced to save money? I want to speak directly to those of you who might fall into one of two camps right now. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, look, I just can't save right now. My income simply isn't high enough. Or on the flip side, maybe you're thinking, I don't need to save. My investments are doing absolutely great. So, is this conversation even necessary for you?
Yes. The answer is a massive, undeniable yes, because the foundational premise we are unpacking today is that building wealth actually has very little to do with your income or your investment returns. It has almost everything to do with your savings rate.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The power of efficiency.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at a fascinating historical analogy that just perfectly mirrors personal finance. Picture this, it's the 1970s. The world was facing this massive, terrifying crisis because it looked like we were literally running out of oil. The economy was booming, we were using a ton of oil, and drilling just couldn't keep up. But we didn't run out. Why? The solution wasn't just finding more oil, which, by the way, is a lot like trying to just find a higher salary or a better investment return. No, the real solution was about decreasing the energy we actually needed. We started building incredibly energy-efficient cars, factories, and homes.
And because of that massive shift, get this, the United States uses 60% less energy per dollar of GDP today than it did back in 1950. The world grew its energy wealth not by magically conjuring up more energy out of thin air, but by dramatically decreasing the energy it required to just function.
And that brings us to the ultimate lesson for your wallet. Here's the kicker. Efficiency is 100% in your control. Finding more energy, just like chasing massive investment returns, is basically a guessing game. It's shrouded in uncertainty, relying on geography or wildly unpredictable market conditions. But the decision to buy a lighter car, or in financial terms to adopt personal frugality, that is a guaranteed win. It literally has a 100% chance of being as effective tomorrow as it is today.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, Income, Ego, and Wealth.
We really need to dismantle an incredibly persistent myth right now. And we're going to do it with some counterintuitive math. Imagine two different people. Person A is an absolute master investor pulling in 12% annual returns. But their lifestyle expenses compound just as fast as their assets. They make more, they spend more. Person B is a totally average investor, earning an 8% return. But they are highly efficient and need half as much money to actually be happy. Believe it or not, the efficient person is actually better off. They get exponentially more benefit from their investments, despite having lower returns, simply because their needs are lower.
Just think about the sheer absurdity of the financial industry for a second. Wall Street professionals will literally grind 80 hours a week, spend tens of billions of dollars, and dedicate millions of hours of research, all just to add maybe 1/10 of a percentage point to their returns. Meanwhile, for the vast majority of us, there are 2 or 3 full percentage points just hiding right in our own lifestyle bloat, waiting to be captured with practically zero effort.
So the crucial takeaway here is this brilliant reframe. Savings is really just the gap between your ego and your income. Once your basic, comfortable needs are actually met, spending beyond that is very often just a daily, exhausting struggle to show other people that you have money. You're basically just extending your peacock feathers to keep up with everyone else who is doing exactly the same thing.
Which means we can actually map out a direct, psychological chain reaction for building wealth. Check this out. Step 1. Care less about what others think of you. When you do that, Step 2 naturally follows. You desire less. Because you desire less, Step 3 happens. You spend less. And finally, Step 4, you create savings. It turns out one of the absolutely most powerful ways to increase your savings isn't actually to raise your income. It's to raise your humility. Crazy, right?
Which brings us to Section 3, saving for saving's sake.
Usually, financial experts will tell you that you need a very specific goal to save for. A house, a car, retirement. But I'm going to argue something entirely different. You do not need a specific reason to save. Saving only for a specific goal makes total sense, in a perfectly predictable world. But our world is wildly unpredictable. Saving for saving's sake is literally the ultimate hedge against life's inevitable ability to surprise the hell out of you at the absolute worst possible moment.
And this brilliantly illustrates that point. We all know the tangible benefits of money, right? The physical houses, cars, and just stuff you can buy. But the intangible benefits? That is where true wealth actually lives. Having unassigned savings gives you time to think. It gives you the ability to wait for a better opportunity. It gives you freedom from constant worry. These are the unseen returns on wealth, and frankly, they are totally incalculable.
Okay, zooming out now for Section 4, the ultimate competitive advantage.
Let's expand our lens from personal psychology to the entire global economy. To understand your ultimate competitive advantage, you have to look at how radically the talent pool has shifted. 100 years ago, competition was hyperlocal. I mean, most people didn't even have phones. If you were slightly above average in intelligence, you were the smartest person in your town and you were treated like it. Today, you are competing in a hyper-connected world with millions, maybe even billions of people spanning the entire globe.
This reality builds perfectly on that famous quote by venture capitalist Marc Andreessen, "Software eats the world." Digitization has completely erased global boundaries, especially for knowledge workers. Whether you are in teaching, marketing, consulting, programming, or even medicine, you are now operating in a massive global talent pool.
So you have to ask yourself this deeply urgent question. How do I actually stand out? In a winner-take-all, globalized world, simply walking into a room and saying, "I'm smart," is just no longer a reliable advantage. And you want to know why?
The reason is right here in the numbers. Every single year, almost 600 people absolutely ace the SATs, a perfect score.
And right behind them, another 7,000 students come within just a handful of points. That is the crushing weight of global competition. Pure intelligence is basically being commoditized. There are a lot of incredibly smart people out there.
Which leads us to our core realization for this whole section. Flexibility is the new sustainable advantage. When technical skills become automated and when pure intelligence becomes hyper-competitive, competitive advantages tilt heavily towards soft skills and financial leeway. This is what is going to truly set you apart from the pack.
Here is exactly what the massive advantage of that unseen return looks like. While your peers might turn desperate and are forced to take the very first job offered to them, you have the cash in the bank to wait for a no-brainer career or investment opportunity to just fall into your lap. You have the breathing room to learn a totally new skill when the market shifts. You can find your passion at your own pace. You can fundamentally think about life with an entirely different set of assumptions.
It really all boils down to this one singular truth. Control over your time is the most valuable currency in the world. Every single bit of savings you create is like taking a point in the future that would have been owned by an employer or by a creditor and handing it right back to yourself.
So, we've covered a lot today. We've seen how frugality gives you control, how humility actually builds your savings, and how flexibility gives you a global edge. But the source material leaves us with this final, highly provocative thought. Stop trying to be so rational. The perfectly logical financial decision isn't always the right one because, well, humans aren't spreadsheets. We're emotional beings. So how does embracing that messy, emotional reality change your next financial move? I'll leave you to ponder that. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay curious.